Hey guys, welcome back to another Realm of the Mad Guide video, and in today's video I want to talk about 5 new things I'd like to see in Realm. This is going to be another discussion video, which means not too much is going to be happening on screen, just some background gameplay, but regardless I hope you guys can enjoy the conversation in mind. I did have this idea in the back of my head for a while and I wanted to get around making the video, but then Deca kind of intercepted me with their producer letter coming out much sooner than I thought they would from what they told me a while back. And in them, they basically show us everything they plan to add to the game within the coming days. Now, I have no idea how soon that's going to be, might take days or weeks or months, but I'm going to assume that it's guaranteed to be instituted in one way or another somewhere in the future. So real quick, let's just recap what gameplay features they plan to add. The first one is Item Forge. From what I can understand, you can dismantle existing equipment you already have to turn them into raw materials, similar to how most drops have feed power, so if you don't feel like keeping an item, you can just give them to your pet. But now you can also craft a new item with them. My only question is, are they just plain tiered items, like the only things you can craft are wine cellar tops? Because then in that case the importance of the system is limited at best. So I hope they allow you to create certain other things, like maybe higher tiered equipment such as tier 13 weapons or tier 14 armors, though I don't think they should allow you to craft white bags. Maybe you can do ST items, but white bags no, since the whole appeal of them is that they're pretty hard to find. Next one is the in-combat and out-of-combat functionality. Now, you guys remember my reworking Vitality video where I talked about potentially greatly amplifying health regeneration out of combat? It looks like that's their plan because it shows in the screenshot right here that there's a lowered HP and MP regen, but I certainly hope they get to rework pets because while out-of-combat regen is awesome to have for players without a pet, the majority of the game is spent in combat, so we'll see what happens there. The 3 upcoming features were 3 things I was actually going to put in the original video, so I kinda had to come up with 3 new things. But putting it short, they're reworking fame bonuses, which is great since a lot of them haven't aged all too well and they actually kinda prevent you from playing the game to a more satisfying level. Plus of course they haven't been updated in a while. The next one is the new exaltation system, which I really wanted. Basically it allows you to complete class relevant goals, usually by completing certain amounts of dungeons, and it can boost your overall maximum stats, which gives players an additional incentive to continue pushing their class further even after 8.8. The screenshot in particular that gives me the most amount of interest is the bonus in Soulbound, which means there could be a way to increase your drop rate. Now that's looking kinda sexy, not gonna lie. We'll have to see how that goes. My original idea was to have it so that you gain some stat bonus whenever you achieve a new star rating, such as if you get 20, I think it was like 80 fame, then 200 fame, 400 fame, 800 fame, 2000, but this works just fine too. Lastly, they're changing up the vault. Thank you. You have no idea how inefficient the current vault system is, especially when you have a lot of character slots unlocked. It would have been so much easier in the previous years if there was a centralized organization terminal you can access with the ability to sort through your items. I could agree with the technical limitations from Flash, but now that we're on Exalt, this is definitely overdue. So with that minor gloss over aside, let's get into 5 more things I want to see added into the game, because quality of life and usability has always been really important for players. In order for a game to be good, it has to feel good, right? And sometimes even the most brilliant gameplay concepts can be crushed if even the user interface is unwieldy. Also, I think there's sort of an issue with Realm in that for the past couple of years, the content that's added into the game has been the same. It's been sort of like your humdrum usual stuff that you can expect. And while that's fine, Realm is meant to be a very simple game, I wonder why they never really added more systems into the game or more things that you can do besides just running around and killing things. Anyway, number 1, character sorting. This is more of a minor change, but if they're adding in vault sorting, they should also consider character sorting. Vault chests are of course a lot easier to get than character slots, but for players who do have a lot of character slots, especially if many of them are storage meals, it could get very tiresome having to sift through all of your characters. Additionally, if they could add ways you can write notes for characters, let's say you have 5 paladins and you want this one to be your main, this one to be the one that you rush for shatters, and the one, let's say you want all the rest of them to be just like spares. If there's some way you can mark your characters to know which one is which, I'm sure a lot of people would enjoy it. And one more thing, if there's a way that we can change the menu to be something other than drop-downs. Drop-down menus are easy to use and they do look nice, but they don't have very good screen real estate usage, especially for large quantities of data. Number 2, UT Exchange. This is not so much UT Weekend, but it's a common point of discussion among dedicated players who do end up collecting tons and tons of white bags that they either don't have the space for or don't care to keep them since they either have too many of them or they're looking for something else. And so they typically use them as pet food or just throw them away altogether. While I want to preserve the experience of hunting for elusive white bags, it's important to acknowledge the sheer frustration of getting too many of one white bag drop that you don't want, especially nowadays since newer dungeons drop more than one white bag. Obviously, if you go to a Demon Abyss or Undead Lair or something like that, you're gonna get a Demon Blade or Doom Bow every single time you get a white bag. But in dungeons like the Lost Halls, where you can get maybe 20 different drops, getting RNG screwed is very real. For context, and not to brag, because I actually hate this, I have 11 Kalo Swords. 11. Wanna know how many Marble Steels I have? None. Naturally, we don't want to give players the ability to choose which white they want. That kind of defeats the purpose. But if there was some way to trade in, I don't know, say 3 UT drops for a random new one, that could be a reasonable bargain for some players, especially those looking for that specific white bag. That also means we'd have to compartmentalize, since it would be kind of broken to trade in like a Cloak of the Planewalker or an Extreme Prejudice into an Omni Ring. So let's definitely separate them based on value or difficulty, kind of like how Tinker Quest was sorted out. Some players might be divided on this, but I think we can all agree that Realm could stand to gain from having some semblance of a pity system that allows you to recycle unwanted drops for the chance to get the one that you actually want. Number 3, item modifiers. It's a gameplay element a lot of players don't want in practically any game because it adds on more RNG than there needs to be. I get that, believe me. But one of my favorite aspects in Terraria, and I guess to an extent Minecraft, was the modification of items. Now, I have an extensive background in MapleStory which has a huge focus on upgrading equipment, and I feel like it would add more player investment into individual characters. Although, equip enhancements like adding on extra stats wouldn't go too well with a game like Realm, and so I think adding item modifiers would put together another layer of depth into progression. Let's be real here, while there's a lot of replayability in Realm, almost all of that is only relevant to the early chunk of your career. There's not so much to build on after you max a character to 8-8. Sure, we can draw the argument that progression lies in collecting all the rare white bags and powerful ST sets, but even so, it's sort of a case of once you get that item, that's it, that's all you need to do, there's nothing else beyond that. It's all surface level. Item modifiers in Terraria add extra bonuses or even reductions to equipment, such as higher range, higher attack speed, more range, more durability, so on and so forth. A way we can make it work for items in Realm without them necessarily impacting base stats would be to tag on some extra bonuses that, I don't know, you can unlock with fame. There's not so much use to fame outside of feeding items to level up your pet, so we could add a function to spend something like 100 fame to unlock an item's modifiers. I guess for the sake of example, let's look at armors. Maybe throw in a move speed increase such as 5 to 10%, which boosts your overall move speed, or some other properties such as, let's say, reducing damage from fire-based attacks. Maybe for weapons we can do 5. Maybe for weapons we could do like adding a bleeding effect or another weapon that perhaps gives you lifesteal, something like that. It would mean that there could be just more to getting a rare item. You could then spend some time upgrading those items to try to get some good modifier, either by getting more of said item or perhaps adding an NPC who can do that job for you, like rerolling a stat. This does tack on an additional set of RNG, which could be a point of frustration for some players, but item modifiers are well received in Terraria, and I think it looks like it could be fun for Realm too. I know that this could push the power creep ceiling even further, especially if we combine it with Exaltation's bonus stats, but even so, there does need to be more to progression after maxing a character to 8-8. Number 4, this might actually be my favorite one, Alchemy and Cooking. I am aware that there was an alchemist a long time ago, but I'm referring more towards crafting your own special consumables. I'm a huge fan of MMOs that have some kind of cooking aspect to the game where you can combine a bunch of ingredients together to make a food item that can give you big boosts in stats. Let's say a legendary cake that gives you 20% bonus move speed, and attack power, so on and so forth for like 30 minutes. There already exist consumables in the game such as infusions, drinks, etc. that can give you temporary boosts to stats. Why not expand on that? Create a whole new system in the game, a whole new section where you can make your own restoratives and boosters. That could also add another level of depth into the economy of the game. Low-level players could dedicate time to cooking dishes and selling them for stat pots and gear, and because they're consumed, there might always be a high demand for them because players might be scrambling to get hundreds and hundreds of them that they run out of in like a couple days. And this could also create some more competition for those trying to get world records in dungeons. Putting in powerful and rare ingredients in select dungeons, it could vastly improve the playability. There's a lot of dungeons that are hardly worth going into either because of extreme difficulty or tedium compared to what drops they have. If you want to make, let's say, a seafood dish, then go to a Nidarian Reef or Ocean Trench. If you want to make a really spicy dish, go into Lair Shaitan or an Abyss of Demons. If you want to make some ice cream, go into the Ice Cave. Or if you want to make some confections, go into the Candyland Hunting Grounds. There exists a large portion of Realm's dungeons that aren't popular to go into but have such an interesting thematic towards them, and I think if we add this in, that could give players a reason to want to go there. Alongside that, let's allow creating for your own potions in the game that do more than just recover 100 HP or 100 MP. I would definitely consider stocking up on potions that, say, boost your HP and MP regeneration, or a potion that can boost attack range. Imagine stacking that with Bard. Sure, one could argue that can break the game, but my point behind this is to expand on the various ways a player can get stronger besides just getting crazy white bags like Omni Ring or, Forgotten Crown, Void Bow, or something like that. You could be a person with completely average equipment like Wine Cellar Tots, but still be able to hold your own in high-level dungeons with the right food items or potions. Give players multiple avenues to reaching the endgame. And while some food items drop in specific dungeons, we could have potion ingredients drop in those that wouldn't make sense to drop any food. Mad Lab, Toxic Sewers, Layer of Draconis, something like that. Alternatively, add drops for both if there's a dungeon that applies, like Fungal Cavern. It could drop mushrooms that you can use either to make truffles or mushrooms that can turn into poison vials, something like that. Last one, Realm Quests. Right now, it's pretty apparent that the best form of progression is either to sit in the Nexus in the crowded server and wait for someone to pop a key, or join a Discord raid group and play through that. Barely anyone goes into the actual realms these days, unless there's a major event going on like Keeper, or something that encourages clearing realms, like drop rates to event gods or Oryx related stuff. Let's add certain objectives or quests to Realm. For how big each one is, I'm surprised there doesn't exist any kind of special side quests you can do, such as NPCs or villages or other landmarks around that you can interact with and give you certain quests. Maybe fetch quests or even things like send you into a mini game of sorts where you have to defend a village from like 500 enemies. We could also add in rewards, such as fame, which means there's ways to accumulate fame without dying on a character. Something I always wondered why there's no other method, because it's sort of a quandary about whether you should keep a high fame character for the sake of prestige, or kill it off because you want to max heal and MP heal on your pet. Who knows, let's build on the previous ideas and have NPCs that reward you with rare ingredients that you can only get from that quest you can use to then cook food or brew potions. Or maybe add quests that reward you with an item that allows you to reroll the modifier on your existing equipment. Add more content into realms besides just running around and killing enemies. Give players a reason to want to explore the other areas such as the Midlands or Highlands. Look for key NPCs that could be important towards completing class-specific quests, maybe for like Exaltation. I feel like players have millions of ideas when it comes to quests in a realm, and it's a shame that after almost 8 years, nothing was added onto quest completion outside of just defeating specific bosses. That could also give players a more encouraging incentive to want to complete the Doer of Deeds fame bonus, which is just going around and completing certain quests. I know a lot of these ideas could be met with some degree of controversy, or there might be some that sound a lot better on paper, but in application not so much. But what always bothered me about Realm is that while it's a very simple concept with lots of replayability, both Deca and Kabam did little to expand on it, mostly just throwing in new dungeons, new items, new bosses, so on and so forth. It's been forever since actual full-on new gameplay elements were introduced, and while it allows for returning players to still be familiar with the game's experience, even if they take breaks for years, it also makes it pretty boring because once you do all there is to do, the only thing really keeping a lot of players attached to the game is either the pursuit of elusive drops or self-imposed challenges like PPEs and NPEs. Apart from that, the game is very monotonous. I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments section below. Maybe propose some ideas of your own, or if you want to evaluate the 5 I talked about and build on them with extra thoughts. And those who are watching from Reddit, because I do plan to post it there, let me know your opinions too. But for now, that's going to be it. If you enjoyed, a rating would be much appreciated, and stay tuned for more Realm content in the future, alongside my other games if you enjoy playing Minecraft or League of Legends. But for now, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon in the next video. Take care.